Moving forward in Parashat Emor, we have the idea of Kedushim, of Kedusha, as a consequence of separation, of Havdalah in general, that is going to take even a higher dimension. Last week we spoke about the concept of Kedusha, of holiness, in the Shabbat, by excellence. As we welcome the Shabbat with the Kiddush, as we exit the Shabbat, escort the Shabbat with the Havdalah, we mention that separation that is going to be Ben Kodesh Lechol, Ben Israel La'amim, Ben Yom HaShevi'i, L'Sheshet Yemei HaMa'aseh, and that separation is what gives the whole power of Kedusha in general. In this week's Parashat Emor, we continue with this concept even further because the Shabbat is also mentioned, but also the Mo'adim, the holidays. And all these holidays, besides the fact that they also have a Kiddush per se and a Havdalah when we exit the holiday, is something quite interesting. Each holiday connects to the Shabbat idea in the number 7, in the pattern that is around number 7, to continue to remind us of the concept of Shabbat. For example, Pesach is going to have 7 days. Sukkot also is going to have 7 days. Shavuot is celebrated after counting 7 weeks, which are 7 days, 7 times. In other words, we're going to have again the pattern of 7. And going to Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, we're going to find also that they somewhat have a connection with number 7 because they both fall in the 7th month of the year. And all that is because number 7 represents the idea of Shabbat. They will have the concept of Shabbaton, they will have the concept of resting, not doing melachot, of separation. And today I really want to focus on the idea of the Mo'adim because the idea of separation is so necessary for the essence of what Mo'ed is about. What is the meaning of the word Mo'ed? Chol HaMo'ed, or the Mo'adim by themselves, as the Torah says, Ele Mo'adei Hashem. What is a Mo'ed? And the truth is that we find not a time, but a place called Mo'ed. That's the Ohel Mo'ed. In the Mishkan, there was a place called the Ohel Mo'ed, a tent for the Mo'ed. And the Mo'ed is defined by the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu would meet with Moshe Rabbeinu. Mo'ed means a meeting, an encounter, a time and a place for two people to meet. In that situation, it's not two people, it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Am Yisrael. Every Mo'ed is an opportunity for us to meet with Boreal, to connect with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and this is why we have the mitzvah of the Aliyana regel. During those Mo'adim, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, Kadosh Baruch Hu says to us, I want to see you. Shalosh pe'amim b'shana yera'eh kol zechurecha et penei Hashem Elohecha. Penei means the face. I want to see your face. I want you to see my face. I want us to be close. I want you to come to Yerushalayim, to come to my home, and to celebrate together. And here again, this is a beautiful and very interesting idea. The Mo'adim come in the dimension of number 7 because the Shabbat concept has to be repeated, has to be emulated through the Mo'adim. And what is it? The idea of separation. The idea of being able to disconnect in order to connect. How can I connect to Borei Olam? Well, I'm going to have to be able to create some kind of boundaries with things that I cannot be in touch with, things that I cannot be using, things that I cannot have my mind busy with in order for me to fully connect to Borei Olam. And I believe that this idea of Havdalah / Kedusha / Mo'adim is something that definitely helps us understand the importance of the Midda of the month, the Midda of Seder. Seder does not mean only to be organized in our lives. Seder also means that I have to be able to make a time, to make a place, in order to see that if things are all mixed up, then there is no possibility to create connection. And I want to give you a very simple example to that. That example is called the unfortunate reality that we have with some of our children called the ADD and ADHD situation. What happens is that unfortunately a child who is very intelligent, who is very capable, is unable to focus, is unable to perform in class. And why is that? Well, there are many studies out there that show that the technology that is pouring at the child's brain so much data, so much information, especially watching cartoons, especially on the internet, and all these images, all these data that is going into his brain, create a lack of possibility for the child to organize and therefore to focus. Because everything comes at once. Everything is together. It's just so fast. And that child becomes hyper. And that child becomes unable to really have a head that it could be organized. To create compartments. To create separation. And this is where the word Seder comes into the picture. And it makes so much sense. Because when a husband and a wife want to create a relationship that is through a commitment, that is in a way that there is a bubble that is only us and nothing else. That is also a consequence of Seder, to be mesudar in my head that this is not my wife, this is not my husband, this is not the time, this is not the place. When the person is able, just like in the Moadim, to create that separation, or more specifically to be organized in his head and his heart, in his emotions, then he is able to have good relationships. Then he is able to have an exclusive relationship with the people that he's supposed to be with exclusively. And I believe that unfortunately with that reality of struggling with the lack of Seder, or call it the lack of focus, then it's not just an inability to perform, an inability to succeed, but it's also an inability to be able to have good relationships, to stick to those relationships, to be able to know that there is a time right now that I have to be with that person, and it means that I can't be focused on something else. It is not okay that I'll be on my phone while my wife or my husband is looking for some attention, for some time with us. And that is again the whole idea of the Moadim in this week's Parashat. Kadosh Baruch Hu tells us, remember the Shabbat, remember the idea of separation, the 39 Melachot, a day that is about disconnecting from something to connect with something. Is connecting with what? Connect with me. Connect with Boreal. And that's the same way it should be in your own life, in my own life. If I am able to make room, to be organized in my head and to say, this is not the time, this is not the place, then our relationship will be in a so much higher and better level. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu help us to truly find that organization, this maturity, this level of ability to focus on the people that matter in our life, on the activities that are important for us. And may we all be blessed with nachat from our children, nachat from our spouses, nachat from the work that we do. And of course, most importantly, with a true, real, deep relationship with Boreal himself, who is just looking for that. Shabbat Shalom U'Barach.